Hey, my name is Robert Carpenter. Came in freshman year 1984. I'm attached to Winston-Salem State. Also, my father was a golf coach here for 6.5 years at Winston-Salem State University.
I'm Charlie Spell III. Started in 1984 to 1988 here at Winston-Salem State University.
Cleo Hill Jr., head men's basketball coach here at Winston-Salem State University.
Awesome. And so, so we're here today to talk about the book you all wrote, Basketball's a Dentist. Gentlemen, what made you guys want to do an animated book?
I'm going to tell you how I started. About a couple of years ago, 2015, I lost my only son. And when I lost my only son, I was an entrepreneur, owned like 3 restaurants, 3 barbershops. And I couldn't get up in the morning, couldn't wake up, couldn't sleep. So I kind of began to sell them. I started getting rid of them and just started doing some soul searching. And I started to write. I wrote some other books. I wrote a book called Why We Should Buy Local. I wrote another book called Mass Incarceration. It talked about the high incarceration of indigenous people of color. And then I wrote another book. It was a funny book called 8 Easy Ways of Good Credit. So when I was writing these books, I found out that I wasn't having fun with them. But I was doing it because I took all of my pain to my pen. And so one day my daughter, she started a lip gloss business called Asadah Cosmetics. And I asked her, I said, listen, let's write a children's book. And me and her sat down, we collaborated on the children's book. So after we started collaborating on the children's book, I came back to her. She was only 12. I said, let's do another one. She said, nah, Dad, you do the children's book. I'm gonna keep selling these cosmetics. So I was out there on my own. I started writing. And one day I was online and I was looking at an interview with Charlie. And Charlie was raising funds for the men's basketball team here at Winston-Salem State University. And me and Charlie had a great relationship when we first came here. We used to practice together. And I always talk about this story, as much as we was different. I had my feet in the college and in the streets. And Charlie was focused, and I went my way and he went way. But what happened was I seen him online and I said, I want to help him because I had just lost a child and I wanted to help indigenous people, which people look like me. I wanted to implement a seed into the lives of young boys and girls. So I called Charlie on the phone and I said, hey Charlie, let's do a children's book. And then, Charlie could tell you the rest. He just took on his own life.
Yeah, like Sleepy was saying, we did the interview here at Winston-Salem State maybe about 6 months ago, and it went well, and it was on social media. It was on the Rams page, and Sleepy saw it. He just called me out the blue and was like, man, I can help you with fundraising money for the school. I said, okay. I said, how can you? He said, well, I write books. And we collaborated on writing a book. We put it together about 3 or 4 months, edited it out, had a great storyline, and we presented it softly to the public, and we had some great reviews. And it's just a great way that we can give back to Winston-Salem State University. And also it can educate so many children on the histories of HBCUs and the product of people that it puts out into the world. Because, as our motto is enter to learn, depart to serve. So that's what we're trying to do. We're trying to give back. We're trying to help. We're trying to lift each other up. And it's been a great experience so far.
And the crazy part, if you don't mind me tapping in on that, me and Charlie used to sit up and talk, and me and him used to always talk at a certain time of day, because Charlie, he has a medical office in Memphis, and so when we call, he'd always catch me right before I'm about to go into the house. So I found myself in the driveway, always talking to Charlie. So Charlie said to me one time, he said, this guy called me up, and he said, hey, I said, and we start talking about what's alumni look like. And I said, Charlie, I didn't graduate from Winston-Salem State. But I said, I gave him what a definition of what alumni is. And I told him, I said, you know what? People have to understand that when you're trying to impact the community, that it involves everybody. And what we came up to the conclusion to as a team, and I'm going to talk about Cleo in a minute, how he came into it. And it was amazing because me and Coach Hill, we played high school ball together. And we always had a good relationship. But, and Cleo come from a father that I had a relationship with who had an impact on me just in small conversations, the same way that me and Charlie would have small conversations. And so what we try to do is we try to take small stories with a lot of strength to impact not only the child, but impact the parent. So when the parent reads, he learns the historical things that went on with other people who graduated from Winston-Salem. So our first book and our first series of books, Charlie Art was Charlie, because if you don't mind me sharing it, Charlie was a guy who came, I think, Fairville, and went to play basketball here, got his name into the Hall of Fame here. I think that's the Hall of Fame.
No, it's not the Hall of Fame. It's the Legends.
Oh, the Legends. I always call him a Hall of Fame. And then he got his name into the Legends, and then he went to be a dentist at another HBCU. So I said, Charlie, man, you got the baddest story in the world, because you don't hear that a brother go from educated at an HBCU, get his graduate degree at an HBCU, and then open up these multiple medical offices in all predominantly black community in Memphis?
Yeah, predominantly.
Predominantly black community in Memphis. So I thought he was impacting the community without being a Martin Luther King.
Definitely. And yeah, so talk about that. Talk about you guys' connection to Coach Hill. Coach Hill, where you come in with these two gentlemen who matriculated into the program that you're now in charge of.
Got it. Well, I've known both of them for years. I've known Rob for was it over 30 years. We played AAU basketball in New Jersey, went on some traveling teams. And I know Charlie from the battles in the Gaines Center and Annex. And as soon as I got the job, Charlie reached out. So now we go from competitors now to family. And he's been supportive since I've been here. Talked to a couple of players during the course of the year that paid off in the CIAA tournament and the championship. So when Charlie mentioned the book to me, animation, he said, you remember Rob, right? I was like, Rob? He said, Rob Carpenter. No, I don't remember Rob Carpenter. He said, Sleepy. I said, yeah, okay, Rob, yeah. And he explained it to me. And before that, Charlie was doing a scholarship in his name for men's basketball. Yeah. And the scholarship finances are going up and still rising to this day. And he said, well, look, we might have some assistance from Rob. So he broke it down to me and talked about the animation book. And he said, look, me and Rob are going to come down there on June 30th. It must have been July 30th. We must have talked about that in June. Early June. And I said, look, I'll be there, whatever y'all need me to do. So it started with the support of Charlie, then it went to the support of Rob. And I think financially, we can always use some additions, but almost more importantly, the story of Winston-Salem State is going to be out there, will be told, and should be told. And these two gentlemen are making it happen, and that goes, again, to the brand of Winston-Salem State University. So that's kind of why we're here today.
I would ask, I know you two played for Coach Gaines, and I know, your father knew him very well, and he recruited you as well, Coach Hill. What do you think he would say if he was here today on campus, right here with you guys, writing this book of what you're trying to do in the lives of young folks?
What would my father say? What would Coach Gaines say?
What would Coach Gaines say?
Coach Gaines would say, have at it, boy. That's what he would say, but he would love it. Coach Gaines, and they could speak to it even more. He was my mentor, but these guys got a chance to be with him on a daily basis. Anything that will promote Winston-Salem State University and the community and to help us financially, he would be thumbs up with all day, every day.
Yeah, most definitely. A lot of people didn't know that Coach Gaines wanted to be a dentist. When he was young, when he was younger, he shared that he wanted to be a dentist. But,
you did tell me that.
And so things, things went, the other way. He became one of the greatest coaches of all time. So that worked out for him. But this book, in some kind of ways, kind of represent him. And I'm just glad that we've been able to share it and make this a part of the history.
And the one thing I love about Big House was that, me coming from Jersey, coming to the South, he made me look in the mirror and made me start looking at manhood. He said, boy, basketball is going to leave one day, but you got to start having manners and respect. And Big House had a strong relationship with my father. And they used to putt around, they used to talk a lot. And so I had the opportunity to get to know him from another level. And then I seen how him and my dad kind of, like my dad was a coach here, but House was a coach here for
42 years.
42 years. And how him and my dad had a strong relationship. And I don't care what I said about House, my dad was, yeah, get out of here. You ain't doing right. House, you know what I'm saying? So House was amazing. He was a pillar of the community. He was the old school type of guy who dealt with the truth, and he threw the BS out the window, and that's why I think we all respect him.
Exactly.
Because he was honest and he was straight front. Regardless of how it went with you, if it was good for you or it was bad with you, Big House was straight up. And that's what, when you get older and you start to have children like we have, you start to honor that. You start to look at it and be like, you know what? The why I'm here is because people, when people start looking at your life, and I'm 54 years old, and I think Charlie's the same age, and it's like, you start looking at life from a real point of view. When you're a child, you really don't look at things, but when you go older, you know the importance of giving back, becoming an impact for your community, being a pillar in the community. There's something in the Bible that they say that they said a man should be honored by his peers. And the thing is that I used to watch my father, and I watched Big House, and they was honored by their peers. So scriptures tells you that, man, you can see a man in the way the men honor him. So that was my impact that came from House.
And so, again, the book is titled Basketball to Dentist. Give us a quick summary of what it's about and then where everyone can find it.
I'm going to let Charlie talk about that. That's his life.
Well, the book, it started out, we was at homecoming, and me and Sleep run into each other. And he has his children with him, and his daughter just starts asking me an array of questions on about Winston-Salem State and homecoming and college, and did I like going to a HBCU, and just several questions that young people want to know about, and why I chose to go here. And I just kind of broke it down to her in the book about why I chose Winston-Salem, how I matriculated through it, just the whole process, and hopefully I think it would give some guidance to a lot of young kids on about the process of trying to decide where to go to college, how college is, what to study, how to, just take it real serious and stay focused on what you want to do. So I think they'll really enjoy it.
Yeah, I know my daughter's 14 and she read the book, and it impacted her in how Charlie brought the life into the book. And Charlie's wife was amazing in the process. His wife was amazing in the process. I mean, she was like she had the whip and she was like directing us, giving us really some key pointers on how we should address it. And it was like almost we did it like a family thing. Yeah, it wasn't just me and Charlie.
Right.
It was our families.
Right.
We came together and just collabed, and was like, and Charlie would say, I would tell Charlie, I say, yo, be patient, because, everything that we're doing represents them. You know what I mean?
Right.
And they're part of the story too. because our lineage is our families. And so one thing I loved about the story was how I looked at homecoming. Homecoming, I remember I used to not come to homecoming. I don't feel like going to homecoming. But homecoming is a celebration of life. So when you come into this atmosphere and you see all of what life has brought to the black community and to the HBCUs, you see nothing but joy and happiness. And then you find out those who have fallen in that process of meeting in this room of Winston-Salem State campus. So what I have noticed that when I come here, it has brought me to start looking at how I'm going to better my community, how I'm going to be a part of the process, and not always complain about the situation. So this book it's about Charlie, but it's really about that celebration of life during homecoming. And anybody who comes to a Winston-Salem State homecoming know that you really don't even want it to be over on Sunday. You know,
That's right.
You don't want it over on Sunday.
No.
You just like, oh, I got to go back to the real world because you just had an amazing time. I mean, you meet your old friends you didn't like, you become new friends with because they were like, yo, what we was mad about? I don't know. We're going to have a good time.
Exactly.
You eat chicken, fish, and everybody is just, and sometimes it be so hot that you forget it's hot, and you just having a good time. So that's, for me, homecoming so I'm always going to keep coming. And now that Cleo down here coaching, it's just amazing that I'm going to keep coming and keep coming and keep coming, and I'm going to keep giving life to this institution.
Exactly.
Where can they find the book?
Oh, you can find the book on Amazon.com, and you just type in Basketball to Dentist. And also,
you can go to BigRobsChildrenBooks.com, and you can type in and you can click on the link, and it takes you right to the book.